3, travel and things in association with sun destinations, iconic destinations with amazing experiences, present In Conversation With. I am your host, David Batsoffen, and my guest today from the Last Word Madikwe Bush House is Tataum Jackson, who's the general manager. Tataum, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you on that side?
Freezing cold, and let's leave it at that. I don't want to give the weather any more credit than it's due. Now, it has been a while.
Think of sunnier times.
Yes. The last visit that I did to Bush House, when it was still called that, was in 2016. I've just spent some time with you and everybody else up at the Last Word, and nothing, luckily, from the exterior, nothing has changed. And it's still the place that I fell in love with. Now, I know that you're new to the property, so fill my viewers in a bit about your background and what brought you and Yaku to Madikwe.
So perfect. Yes, so like you mentioned, it's myself and my husband Yaku running the Last Word Madikwe Bush House at the moment. Currently, we're the new general managers here. We came from lodges and hotels. We've been in the industry for about 10 years now. We spent a few years in East Africa, in Rwanda, then came back home last year. And we were looking for a property that really valued not only its guests, but also really valued and loved their staff. And that's what we found with the owner and family-run association or lodge experience of the Last Word. They have, of course, 3 other properties in the Cape, in Franschhoek, Long Beach, and Constantia, and then the lodge property in Klasiri, which is Katara, and then we are their newest addition. So yeah, happy to join the family.
And it is a wonderful addition. It really and truly is. The staff are a joy to be with. They really and truly are. And it's nice to walk into a place and realize that I know the guide, but not from, it took us a while to figure, for Damien and I to figure out where we knew each other from, which wasn't from this property.
That's correct. I mean, they always say the hospitality industry is so small.
It is indeed. I'm sure you find that. Now, I did mention briefly in the opening that there are certain USPs that Bush House has that others don't. And one of them is this hide, which I spent most of my time in while I was with you. For the first time ever, I think I actually gave up game drives to spend time in this hide. Do you find that other guests have a similar experience? They wake up in the morning, they see Ellie's or they see buffalo at the waterhole, and they're going, I'm just going to spend time here.
So we actually do have quite a few guests that do stay behind. Instead of going out on the game drive, they kind of just want to stay in the hide area and see what they can spot from there. And we've been so fortunate that our hide is just so busy with activity. I mean, if it's not the Ellies, it's the buffaloes. If it's not the buffaloes, it's a herd of wildebeest. So, I mean, we are so lucky in that aspect that you can sit in that hide and have a game drive experience.
You can indeed. This is the beauty, and you've got coffee and tea and biscuits and all sorts of nice snacky things, and you don't have to go anywhere. You really and truly don't.
That's it.
But I'd heard from the previous owners and from some of the guides that the Ellies are known to toss mud and water and stuff in at the various photographers that were sitting in the hide. Sorry, I didn't turn my phone off. But I hadn't experienced it on my last trip. But on this particular trip, there was one elephant that I just read its body language correctly, put my cameras underneath the wall, and not a split second later was drenched when this thing flung water at me.
That's it. We currently have a guest in house. She's a repeat guest, and she's told us the exact same experience happened to her when she was here the last time. And she was like, I'm hoping to recreate that.
Well, tell her maybe the Ellie took it out on me, or he's waiting for her and he's going to do it to her as well.
But I will let her know.
But the hide is really nice. It's underground, which means you literally at foot level to most of the animals, specifically the ellies, who get within, I would think, 2 meters of the hide, sometimes even less if they're snuffling around trying to see who's inside.
That's it. Sometimes even closer. I mean, the other day we had a big herd of buffaloes. The day you folks departed, we had a big herd of buffaloes come through, and they were almost right against that safety fence. So you can get quite close to the wildlife, being in that hide, because you're right there in front of you. And we always have, what I find funny is we have this little duck in the pond, in the dam, and he is just content going from elephants to buffaloes. He's just paddling along.
I know, it's a red-billed teal, and he was there from early in the morning. And I've got pictures of him with ellies. I've got pictures of him with buffalo. And as you say, nothing seems to faze him. But what interested me, Tataum, was the fact that the animals seem to have their own set times. So if I got down there early in the morning, for instance, usually I was at the hide by 7 a.m. And it was invariably the first sort of 45 minutes were just birds. Maybe a lone impala wandered in and out. The glossy starlings came to enjoy a bit of a bath. And then the animals started coming once the sun started warming up the area. Yaku told me that the buffalo would arrive at 8 o'clock. They did on day 1. Day 2, I think they slept in because they only got there at about 9. Yeah, breakfast time for humans. But there's never nothing there.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. I mean, I think you even got some great shots of a spotted hyena during a night little stay in the hide, which is amazing. And I mean, it's a place where so much activity throughout the day happens, whether it's birds. So if you're a bird lover, you're going to get something, that's for sure. And if you're someone that's looking for plains game, or you're looking for giraffe, zebra, I mean, you're going to find it at that watering hole during some point of the day.
You definitely are. The interesting thing, you were talking about the buffalo getting close. The one morning that I spent in there, a little family of warthogs decided to come past me. There was an elephant sort of about 5 or 6 meters from me, and they wanted to go between me and the elephant. But one of those little piggies decided to take a U-turn, and he almost ended up in the hide. He put on brakes at the last minute because I moved. I thought, let me show him that there's somebody sitting here. I don't want him ending up on my lap screaming for mommy. And then there's backup and all of that type of thing. But it was a heck of a lot of fun. I don't know so much about the pig, but I had a good time and got some interesting pictures.
I think he learned a lesson. He definitely has a memory. A core memory has been set in his mind now.
Yeah. But now, talking about elephants, this happened to me on one of the occasions, which was 2 klipspringers. This is the female. The little male came down shortly afterwards and drank while the ellies stood and watched, because ellies do not like sharing water. They really don't, if they can at all avoid it. They chased buffalo out while I was there.
No, that's absolutely correct. I mean, we've seen the ellies chase away giraffes. We've seen them chase away the impalas. They do not like sharing. And because it's such a fresh water source, they cherish it with all their heart. So they make sure that they monopolize that water hole.
They do indeed. But for a first time guest, because I know that you mentioned your guest who's currently in camp is a repeat offender. That's the wrong thing. I apologize to her. A repeat visitor. Wow. And the last word, Madikwe, tends to get, and you will find this, a lot of repeat guests, because people really enjoy being there. And the first time an elephant, I thought this was an elephant. It's not, it's a buffalo. Even I know that. This was the last image that I got before we got in our car and had to leave, which was very annoying, because I wanted to stay for a little bit longer, but it wasn't to be.
Well, we did say that as soon as we do a little facelift on this side, we'd love to have you back.
Don't worry, I've diarized it already.
Okay, good.
But then you get this type of image from sitting in the hide of just the trunk, and these things can suck up 5.5 liters at a time, and you can hear it if you sit quietly. You hear the gurgle of the water going down the throats of the ellies.
Yeah, I mean, the water must be so crisp and so fresh and cool that they slap that water up into the trunk. And sometimes you can even hear that they find the pipe that leads to it, the fresh water, and they put their trunks in there, and you can hear like the slapping
Like
sound
a vacuum,
from there.
yeah.
Yaku gets very upset, yeah, because then he has to switch on the solar.
Yeah. Moving from outside back inside. I know that you've got some major changes coming up, mainly to the accommodation, not so much to the public areas. So I'm not going to focus in now on the accommodation, but between now and roughly September, when you make the changes, people are not going to be put out by them. I know that you're closing for a couple of weeks so that everything will be in place once you reopen. This is your lounge area, which then doubles up as a dining room, or did for us while we were there.
Yes.
The coffee table gets removed, and a dining table gets put in, and we had the most wonderful meals there.
Well, I'm so glad. So in this space, we play around with it a little bit, especially when we're not a full camp. You can get more of the intimate feeling from there, sitting at the fireplace, having your meals there, chatting. We really want to create that home vibe, which is something that I think the previous owners, Sue and Gordon, left that behind for us to pick up on.
The interesting thing is that you talk about home away from home. A lot of camps do that. They say, we are your home away from home. And then you go, really? You're not even close. I have a glorious home. I don't need to be in a home away from home. Yet, Bush House tends to engender this in guests. You walk in as a return guest. You've been in love with it. We fell in love with it in 2016. And unfortunately, COVID got in the way. The trip that my wife and I have just done to you guys should have, in fact, happened in June of 2020. But we all know that 2020 and 2021 exist only in people's imaginations. They never happen.
Almost a write-off. Yeah.
A total write-off. Total write-off. But now you talk, we mentioned food. And I have to mention presentation. So this little picture here is where that coffee table was, and is now replaced with a beautifully decorated table. If the devil is in the details, trust me, he was sitting on my shoulder every meal, because he was watching over, or she was watching over us as we ate. Soup, which was delicious. I tell you, Tatum, I could live on soup, and the soups that your chef prepared were magnificent. Every evening.
That's great.
And even on the game drive that we enjoyed, where all of a sudden you met us in the middle of nowhere, and we had soup rather than drinks.
I did say I would see you later. I didn't say I'd see you after game drive.
True enough. But we also, and I'm going to blame myself for this, I'd asked for a cream soda for that game drive. I get halfway through my drink, and all of a sudden I look at the bottle, at the can in my hand, and it's a Sprite. But I hadn't even realized it wasn't a cream soda. I looked at the can. I can't even blame Joe.
I think you were about halfway through.
Yeah, I was. And I know what cream soda tastes like. Anyway, it was the company. I'm going to blame it on that. Main course.
We told you it's a limited edition cream soda. That's it.
Main course on this evening was lamb chops with roast potatoes, a squash with a great filling, and what looks like baby marrows, but I may be wrong.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And then followed by a creme brulee of note. They say that you've got to, the tagline for you guys at Bush House should be "Come hungry," because there's more than enough food. You guys do breakfast. All right, so it's not quite lunch. It's early afternoon, just before you go on game drive. But there is food constantly if you really want it.
That's correct. So, as game drives go, you sleep, you wake up, you go on game drive, you eat, you go on game drive, you sleep. That's the program.
Except at Bush House, you got to eat, hide, eat, hide, eat, hide, game drive, hide,
Sleep. There
sleep.
we go.
Now, the other thing that's really glorious about this camp is it's different. This used to be a farmhouse, if I remember correctly, before Sue and Gordon had it. So the gardens are different. The garden is not your
Yes.
normal bush garden. These are non-indigenous trees, but the reserve is aware of this. But they are beautifully kept, and you get vistas like this, little pathways that you can wander down and get lost in, and just spend some quiet time, decompressing, as they say.
That's it. And we even have a little pathway map because it's so popular where guests can do a little meander through and around the property. They can see the different trees. We have it labeled and marked. So guests are more than welcome to enjoy that. The garden itself is something we're definitely going to keep because it's so beautiful. I mean, if you think of the families that will be here,
Yeah.
couples that will be here, that space is so lovely to use for setups and for running around and playing and things like that. So yes, it's a beautiful setup that we're definitely looking to keep ongoing.
Tatum, with that in mind, you talk about families. A two-pronged question. Firstly, how many people can the camp sleep? And B, are you child and wheelchair friendly?
So we can accommodate at the moment. What we're doing is 5 rooms, so 10 guests. We accommodate kids of all ages. On the game vehicle, though, we allow kids on from age 6 upwards.
Okay.
But we do, of course, provide babysitting services for the little ones that are staying behind. So we have tons of activities they can do. We have someone that will be here that will watch over them. And then, yes, we are wheelchair friendly, so we don't really have a lot of steps going up and down. And the areas we do have steps at is places that we can, of course, maneuver around.
Okay, that's wonderful to know, because I seem to think that after or even before, do you have wireless connectivity? The question is often asked, are you wheelchair friendly?
Yes. That's correct. No, so we can cater for all types of disabilities, and we try our best to make the best of their stay so that they feel comfortable and not left out of anything. So it's a good dining experience, it's a good game drive experience. So we make sure that everyone feels like they've gotten 100% out of their stay with us.
I have to commend you on something at this particular point. When we're talking about disabilities or other abled people. Firstly, I'd spoken to Damien and about visually impaired people, and he tells me that he's guided people who are visually impaired and who've had wonderful experiences with him. But what I found fascinating, both with you and with Jody and with Damien, when you interacted with my wife, who is hearing impaired, you looked at her because she can lip read and she does speak. But you ignored me, which is the way to do it, because I can hear you whether you're looking at me or not. But I'm super impressed by that small detail that made so much difference to both myself and to Caro.
Well, we're very glad. We had a great time with both of you. So sorry that you felt a bit ignored, but
no, never.
No, but thank you so much. I mean, you also gave us a bit of a heads up to make sure that we were all aware of Caro's hearing situation, which we made sure that everyone understood, and then we just took it from there. We tried to.
So now Tatum's vanished again. She'll no doubt come back in a moment. I want to talk to her about this baobab that is hidden behind a wall at the entrance. And in fact, when you drive into the last word, Madikwe Bush House, you don't even notice it's there because there is a wall that's protecting it. But then as you wander around the camp, you will come around a corner and there is this huge baobab, which is 60 odd years old. It was planted by the original owners of the farm, who planted it for their grandchild when their grandchild was born. And there it stands proudly. People can go and hug it if they want. And Tatum's back. I'm getting used to this.
Hello.
On again, off again, here again, gone again. I was just talking to myself and my viewers about this baobab that you've hidden behind a wall. Planted, if I'm correct, by the original owners of the farm in commemoration of the birth of their granddaughter.
Yes, so in commemoration of their first granddaughter, her birth. So we count the years by her birthdays. So they planted this tree 64 years ago.
Just as a matter of interest, has she been back to the property? Has she come back to see her tree?
I believe she has. If I'm not mistaken, she was here pre-COVID.
Okay.
So yes, the family still comes, and it's still, which is really nice, because I mean, this is such a iconic little piece of the history of the farm, or what used to be the farm.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that people come for is this vista, the chairs in the foreground, and what looks like just an open space between that herd of elephants and whatever guests may or may not be sitting in the chair. But there is a hidden fence, which is so clever, between the animals and the guests. But seated in those chairs, or standing from where I took this picture, you can't see that area at all. There is like a moat, a donga, if you wish.
So a little gully that goes
with an electric
with fence.
That's so clever, really and truly. And it gives you this uninterrupted view of whatever is at the waterhole.
Yes, yes. And you don't hear like a little buzzing going through, a little clicking. It's silent, throughout the day, which we're really happy for. And because it's so out of sight, a lot of guests will actually ask, by the way, are we fully fenced in? And you just have to explain to them, yes, we are. It's just a bit of a flatter fence that you can't see. So it's not interrupting anyone's viewing experience. I mean, look at this picture.
Now, the other area, just to the right of this picture, people can see there is a bar counter here. The reason I've cut that out is because there are going to be changes made there. But this area at night, when you come back from game drive, is really wonderful. It's a great space for people just to relax in, to chat about their day, to look forward to an evening meal, to share stories, and to interact with your staff, who are great raconteurs in their own right.
Yeah, so this space lends it to that purpose. I mean, when we have a group of guests in-house, this is kind of the gathering spot before they all disperse for their dinners and all of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that space is going to be so lovely once we also redo the bar area a little bit, lighten it up. So it's going to be, we still want to keep that feeling there.
I know that you're new to the area, new to the reserve, but is there a good time to visit Madikwe?
So for me, Madikwe is from what I've heard from the guides, it's quite seasonal. So you can go all year long, depending on what you're looking for. Of course, we have a little bit of a wetter season that comes up closer to summertime. So I would definitely say now is the best time to come through. I mean, it's nice and dry, even though it's cold. And you get to see a lot of the animals, and a lot of the animals that come maybe from the east side of the park are now here on the west side, and vice versa. So I would say it's a year-long destination. Unless you don't like getting wet, then I would recommend this time of the year.
That's the one thing in the, 20 years that my wife and I have been together and going to the bush. She's learned if it's raining, I do not go out to watch wet impala watching me, watching them. It's a pointless exercise. I'd rather stay in. But you see, in your instance, that's not even an option, because if it's raining and you in camp, you can go and sit in the hide while it pours.
That's exactly.
You can get some awesome shots, really and truly, of animals in the rain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if it's raining, the ellies aren't too concerned about it most of the time, the buffalo as well. You'll get an odd impala here and there. So, you can really just go sit at the hide and see what you can catch.
You mentioned the fact that you spent time up north, and I know that you were in Rwanda in camps there. Did you get to see the gorilla while the 3 years that you were up there?
We were very lucky. Yes, we got to go and do a lovely gorilla trekking experience, which was mind-blowing. I would recommend it to everyone that has the opportunity to go up to East Africa.
Now, Madikwe, unlike Kruger, which is about a 6-7 hour drive, depending on how high up in Kruger you're going, Madikwe is only about a 4-hour drive and about a half a dozen speed traps away from Johannesburg. That's one thing, guys. If you're going up on a Friday afternoon, stick to the speed limit. Going back on a Monday, yes. The cops seem to take off on a Monday. I've never found speed traps going home, but going up on a Friday, all over the place, just outside Zeerust. They love stopping people there. That's a regular. So if it says 60, stick to 60. But it's about a 4-hour drive. So it makes it relatively easily obtainable. You can leave lunchtime on a Friday. You've got Friday night, Saturday night, maybe even Sunday night, and you can come back to work on Monday if you absolutely have to. How do people book to come and visit? Is there a central booking? Can they get hold of the camp directly? How does it work, Tataum?
Yes, so we have a central booking reservation line, so on the Last Words website, and that's based out in Cape Town. They do all our reservations for us out there, so you can inquire about bookings, rates, all of that kind of stuff. But of course, if you can't get hold of them, the lodge is always happy to help, and you can give us a call and we can assist as well.
Great stuff. And just remember, when you leave the lodge, to ask them for the gate pass, which I'd forgotten to do when I left you. And I was hoping that the guard would say to me, sorry, you have to go back. You can't leave the park. You're doomed to stay here.
We were waiting for you.
I showed him the invoice. He said, all right, you can go. And do you recommend a minimum stay time? Because I used to do sort of 2 nights, but I now find that 3 nights gives me a better experience of a camp, and it just gives you one more night out in the bush.
So I always found that 3 nights is comfortable, because if it's 2 nights, then you really only have that 1 day to experience everything you want to experience. Whereas with 2 full days, you get to have a bit of a more relaxed feeling around finding animals and doing all sorts of stuff around the camp. So I always recommend a good 3-night stay, because when you get there, you're tired. So sometimes you want to skip that first game drive. And then you have the whole day on the second and the third. So I think 3 nights for me is minimum night stay.
Yeah, my wife knows. I've sometimes walked into camp, walked into the room, liked the room so much, gone back to management and said, I'm staying another night. Try and get me out.
Thanks.
Tataum, I wish you and the team and all the existing staff the very, very best with this new venture. I'm hoping that the Last Word take this from great to excellent and beyond, really and truly. And I do hope that people will flock to you in droves and come and spend time in the heights, spend time in the bush up there, and just relax and enjoy it. It's not nowadays, and I'm sure you may agree with me, it's not about the big 5 anymore. It's now about the bush experience and what you can get to see, be it a Cape glossy starling having a water bath, a blister beetle that crawled in front of the hide and I took pictures of just because it was there, or whether it was Ellie's buffalo or anything, or even rhino. Whatever appears is, and whatever you don't see, you'll go back again. That's all.
That's exactly it. And I think, especially with our boutique size, a lot of people are looking for that more intimate, more personalized service. And I think that's really what the Last Word encompasses. They strive to have those intimate, personalized experiences for each guest, so that they come back each time to the property, which I totally agree with.
And so do I. Normally, at the end of a chat like this, I say the goodbyes and I say the thank yous, but it would be wrong of me if I didn't offer you, as general manager, the last word.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you to you, Dave, that you could have this time with me and have a good discussion about the last word taking over this new property. I wish you nothing but the best, and we hope to see you very soon.
I've been chatting to Tataum Jackson, who's the new co-general manager, together with the husband of the last word, Madikwe Bush House. Tataum, thanks very much for spending time with me this afternoon. And I do look forward to seeing you guys again once the renovations have been completed.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.